Hello, this is Sebastian from Social Anxiety Solutions. I'm a personal coach and I help people with social anxiety feel calm and relaxed in social situations. Now, in this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about the importance of self-acceptance. And I want to talk about that because it's one of the main keys to being at ease socially. Because there are parts of us that we accept, and those are usually the parts that we accept ourselves when we're happy, we accept ourselves when we're confident, we accept ourselves when we're funny, we accept ourselves when we're intelligent. However, we have moments when we're not happy, we have moments when we're boring, we have moments when we're annoying to other people, we have moments where we're insecure, we have moments where we're anxious, and these are parts of us, and we've learned through programming in our early childhood to only accept certain parts of ourselves, and as a result, we have repressed these parts of us, and then when they show up, it becomes a problem for us. So when we feel anxious, we're like, oh my God, I shouldn't be this way, this is bad, it's wrong to feel this way, it's weak, it's pathetic, and so on. Or when we feel insecure, there's shame about it because we're supposed to be confident all the time and never have any insecurity whatsoever. So a key to social confidence, be free of your anxiety, is actually being okay with all the unacceptable parts. In other words, you want to make the unacceptable parts acceptable. And tapping is a great way to do that. Because when you're okay with feeling insecure, when you're okay with being socially anxious, when you're okay looking like a dumbass, there's a lot of freedom in that. And because think about it, when you're fine with looking anxious, when you're fine looking stupid, then you have nothing to hide. And that's what social confidence is all about. Hey, I am who I am, I'm alright with who I am, I'm kind of great and I'm kind of shit sometimes, and that's all right. I've got nothing to hide. And that's a very safe place to be, right? And that's the outcome, because anxiety shows up whenever your brain perceives a threat, right? Whenever your brain perceives that it's not safe to be you. So, and when you're okay with all of you, then you've got nothing to hide, hence you're safe, hence there's no perception of threat, and so there's no anxiety. Now, that's the outcome that you're looking for. I'm not talking about how to get there. That's actually quite a bigger story than just a little video. But, in these videos, I'm just giving you little blips of information and things to consider, and I might be repeating certain concepts several times because it just takes time to land sometimes, and the more you hear something from the more different angles, the more it starts to hit you, and you start to get your own aha moments and stuff like that. Well, what I was thinking would be awesome is to have a little bit of a summary about an interview that I did with Steve Wells. And Steve is a friend of mine, but he's quite a bit older than me. Be funny if he hears me say that. I think he's in his mid-50s. He's a psychologist, and a couple of years ago I organized a big emotional relief mission for the traumatized victims of Super Typhoon Yolanda in the Philippines. And he, along with my mentor, Dr. David Lake, came over to help the traumatized victims, and we taught them the tapping techniques to release the traumas. Anyway, Steve is a psychologist, and he's an absolute expert in the tapping techniques, and he's been very creative with it, and he's combined, along with my mentor, provocative therapy with the tapping, and they've created their own approach called provocative energy techniques, which is hilarious, a lot of fun, makes your healing process very enjoyable, both for the practitioner and the coach. But anyway, he's a he and my mentor, they really emphasize the importance of self-acceptance and the importance of acceptance in general. And when you look at the spiritual teachings, this is a concept that comes back over and over and over and over. Byron Katie talks about loving what is. Acceptance of what is essential in order to actually start making changes. So you not just you want to, you need to get to a place where you're actually in acceptance of your social anxiety and acceptance of yourself. That's where true freedom lies. Because if you don't get to the place where you accept your social anxiety, you can use the tapping to get there. And Steve and I will be talking about that in the interview that I've done with him, that you'll get a bit of a summary of in this video. Because if you don't, and social anxiety comes up for you, then you freak out and it gets worse, and it just keeps the loop going. It perpetuates the loop. So you can interrupt that by using the tapping on your resistance to accepting it, and we'll dive in a lot deeper. Anyway, I've been talking for long enough, and I'm starting to get to my destination. I'm about to fly off back to Asia. So check out this video and leave a comment below if you have any insights that you want to share that might have been helpful for you when it comes to acceptance. Like, how have you used acceptance in your life, or how will you use acceptance in your life in order to move towards greater levels of social confidence? So, hope it's been helpful. Enjoy the summary of this video. Let's do that again. Enjoy the summary of the interview I did with Steve, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.
Hi there, my name is Rachel. I'm on the Social Anxiety Solutions team, and I want to give you a brief overview and share a few clips from the interview that Sebastian was referring to, where he interviewed Steve Wells. It's Social Anxiety Solutions podcast, episode number 5, Self-Acceptance, a Key to Social Comfort. This is an awesome, engaging interview that really drives home what is at the root of social anxiety, what prevents people from moving forward, and how you can finally stop this vicious cycle and become free in social situations. So if you're suffering with social anxiety, I highly recommend you check out the full interview. So we'll start this off with Sebastian's experience with this, and then lead into Steve's explanation as to how lack of self-acceptance and social anxiety are related.
So Steve, we talk about self-acceptance today because I believe it's one of the causes, or the cause, of social anxiety. And I know I definitely didn't accept myself. I saw myself as the biggest loser around. I thought that everyone was above me. And I saw how everyone was having fun and I was missing out. And I couldn't really enjoy it when I was around other people. And I mentioned it earlier that I found out about self-acceptance. It was suggested to me, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? How can I accept myself? This social anxiety, it's ruining my life. I can't be myself. Without this, I'd be fine." I was wrong, but without this, I'd be fine. I'm not going to accept myself, and that actually caused me to struggle for a lot longer. So Steve, to kick off, how does self-acceptance relate to social anxiety?
Okay, well, exactly as you said, you have your problem, and then you have your reaction to the problem. And the reaction to the problem is fairly universal, is that we get angry at ourselves for having the problem. We beat ourselves up for having the problem. We put ourselves down for having the problem, because any problem that we have, we shouldn't have. In general, across the world, people feel anxiety when they experience new situations. And, of course, some people are feeling the fear and going ahead anyway, whereas others are stopping in their tracks. Now, if you're doing that and other people are going ahead, then you can beat yourself up for not being as good as them.
Right, comparing.
So yeah, absolutely. So this underlying thing of I'm not as good as them, or basically not good enough, that's a universal human belief. And someone who has a problem like social anxiety has that belief really close to the surface. Everyone has it, but for someone with social anxiety, it's going to be close to the surface a lot of the time. So, you're feeling anxious a lot of the time, and, you should be out there doing it. And so therefore, and you're not. So therefore, you can blame yourself. There's something wrong with you. You can beat yourself up and so on.
So as Steve explained, self-acceptance and social anxiety go hand in hand. As opposed to trying to fix the surface problem, the problem being your social anxiety, the key to overcoming the anxiety would then be to accept these parts of ourselves that we've not been accepting. But you may find that to be a challenge for you. In this next clip, Steve shares his struggles with accepting how he felt and what he realized and did to stop the cycle and finally have a breakthrough.
So I'm typing out these words, even though I've been wasting my time on the computer again, playing silly computer games, I deeply and completely accept myself. And I thought, no, I do not. I totally do not accept myself. And so then I thought, well, hang on a minute. This thing that I think is the problem, maybe this is the real problem, is that I'm not accepting myself. So I thought, okay, let's make that the target of this process. So instead of targeting, this problem, let's target the problem underneath it, which is that I just don't accept myself.
Most people with social anxiety will say, well, I'll accept myself once I'm free of my social anxiety. So
exactly. Yeah. And the challenge is that it actually starts with wherever you are, because you know what? When people, and I've worked with people at the top level, a lot of people that most of the listeners really admire, they still don't accept themselves. A lot of celebrities, a lot of sporting greats, a lot of people who are in the top of their field, underneath that, they're not really happy with themselves and they don't really like themselves. So even after achieving those things, they still have this lingering feeling of not being good enough. And so I say start with that first, because that's what you're really after. And when you do accept yourself, you're able to move forward. Like when I did that, when I had that breakthrough feeling, I just started doing stuff because I wasn't worried anymore about failing with it. It was just like, it freed up my energy to be able to do things without thinking that they were the measure of my worth in the world,
Yeah.
So you might think you have all this work to do first, and then you'll be good enough and will then accept yourself. Once you've achieved a level of success, that you'll automatically accept yourself. But as Steve said, he's seen a lot of people at the top levels of performance in their fields, athletes, celebrities, and so on, and they still struggle. So you might as well address it no matter where you are now, because it sounds like it might still be there waiting for you to address, no matter your levels of success in the world. So as Steve explains, the further he went into this problem, the further he went into addressing his lack of self-acceptance, he became more aware of how big his unacceptance really was. And he learned to apply tapping towards it. And, he shares an experience of having gone through so many levels of it, and then just being filled with a lightness and a realization that he was never the problem. And he also shared that he's never turned back since having that realization. Can you imagine the difference between going from not accepting yourself to accepting yourself every day? How many parts of your life would that impact? Steve then shares how important it is to make the tapping a part of your daily habits, because social anxiety attaches itself to all parts of your life because, you've had it, you've carried it with you through all these different parts of your life, but each of those can be addressed. And some aspects you might be able to address quickly, while others will take more time. But he says if you put in the time consistently, that it's very beneficial, and you can reduce your suffering without forcefully facing your fears with this approach. And he shares that just by doing the tapping, even in the very beginning, you're going to be taking the edge off, and he shares that it's going to get easier and easier the more you do it. And so if you can work on accepting yourself and whatever it is that you've been pushing away from accepting, he recommends doing this for 30 days. So every time you find yourself not accepting yourself, you can apply a tapping technique. Social confidence is really the aim here, to where you no longer are afraid to be yourself in social situations, and you no longer have anything to hide. So I highly recommend, again, check out the full interview, episode number 5 on the Social Anxiety Solutions podcast, which you can find on iTunes or on socialanxietysolutions.com/podcast. And be sure to check out the show notes page. Referenced there are a number of Steve's links and videos, his self-acceptance series, and his book that he co-wrote with David Lake called Enjoy Emotional Freedom. Be sure to subscribe on socialanxietysolutions.com to learn more about how you can overcome social anxiety. Of course, seek professional help as needed. And remember, your social anxiety and level of self-acceptance go hand in hand. It starts with wherever you are right now. Blaming yourself for the problem or for not being good enough is actually the problem. You are not the problem. So start tapping and learn the technique. Apply it to wherever it is you're not accepting yourself. Make it a daily habit. Try it out for 30 days. And I'll leave you with one of Steve's favorite quotes from Alan Wise, which is, "Success, not perfection."